All right, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Approval of the previous meeting minutes. Everybody have a chance to take a look at those. Do they have any changes, additions, edits? Okay, we'll consider those approved. Public participation, we did not have anyone sign up for public participation, so we'll get right into it. Items for discussion, disposal reports.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present the fixed asset disposals for the month. They're substantially less than the last time I was here and presented due to the overabundance on the previous approval. This month's report contains broken and obsolete equipment, musical instruments, and weeded books. There are no items that are considered out of the ordinary, and the funding source for all disposal items is local dollars.
Okay, any questions? All right, moving on to copier paper bid.
Okay. So the district's current copy paper bid expires at the end of the month. As part of our process, we issued a new bid on our electronic platform, BidNet. That bid was issued on the 2nd of January, and bids were opened on the 22nd of January. We had a total of 17 vendors download the complete bid documents, and 3 vendors submitted bids for the contract pricing for copy paper. The term of this contract is from March 1st to May 31st with the possibility of 3-month extensions. And the administration recommendation is to award the copy paper contract to the incumbent Murnane at the case price listed on the 2nd page. And then the fiscal impact per quarter, it's approximately $40,000. Obviously, this is for contract pricing, so that can vary, and it is building department budgets that pay for that purchase.
Yeah, so this is exciting because obviously it's a paper bid. That's maybe not so exciting. But the exciting part is that we did partner with Huntley on this particular bid. So myself and Mark Altmeyer, their CFO, worked with Nikki, who did a wonderful job in gathering the information from Huntley. And their board heard about the bid, I believe it was last Thursday or so. But this is an effort that we're going to continue to when it makes sense. It doesn't make sense in all situations, but it does make sense in some. And it will look to partner not just with Huntley, but other surrounding districts, again, where it makes sense for us. But this is exciting. This is our first step. Kudos to Nikki who ran with it and got the right language in there. We're super excited. But I just want to add that. And of course, we do recommend approving this particular paper contract.
All right, that's really great news. Anybody have any questions or anything for that? Okay, thank you. And now treasurer's report, Jeff Ehart.
Good afternoon. As everybody is aware, the audit has concluded, so I am extremely happy. With that, though, is a whole bunch of other work and tasks that need to be completed, such as auditing journal adjustments, journal entries, reclassifications, and so on. So I'd like to read this just to clarify a few things as we go into the December Treasurer's Report. District 300 reports its AFR, or Annual Financial Report, using the accrual basis of accounting. Under this method, revenues are recognized when they are both earned and available, and expenditures are recognized when they are incurred, regardless of when they are posted to the general ledger. These accrual adjustments ensure that revenues and expenses are recorded to the correct fiscal year. So it's a little tricky because we find ourselves in between two fiscal years a lot, especially when we end June 30th and begin July with our new budget. During the audit process, which concluded in January, the district records various accrual-related adjustments for payments processed after July 1st for services provided prior to June 30. These adjustments include payroll, accounts payable, the medical insurance claims, and they impact some of the district's largest vendor costs, such as health insurance, retirement, transportation, and capital projects. A great example would be the Capital Projects Fund, Fund 60. If you go back to, as an example, July, August, September Treasurer's Report, we had some pretty large disbursements. Just for reference, July, we had $451,000. August, $5.3 million. And September, almost $3.4 million. So at face value, when you look at these numbers, yes, that is cash that cleared the bank. However, that is cash that cleared the bank for activities that took place in the previous fiscal year. So this could be commitments or payables from April, May, and June that we are now paying out in July, August, September. So with the audit, all of that gets adjusted and realigned. So with that, the district has now completed the audit process and all audit-related journal entries have been posted. As a result, the December financial statements accurately reflect all revenues, cash, and expenditures recorded in the appropriate fiscal year. So when you're looking through the December Treasurer's Report, it is going to look a little different, and that's normal. Every school district, once a year after the audit, they go in and they have audit adjustments that they have to make. And that's a reflection of what you're going to see on the December's Treasurer's Report. So with that, ending December, we had $213.4 million of cash on hand. We had a fund balance of $202.2 million. Difference is because of commitments that are out there, and you'll see that number fluctuate month by month. All funds are on trend. If you look at capital projects, you do see 0%. And again, that's because of audit adjustments and taking those disbursements and matching them up with the proper year and those payables. So we did have quite a bit to adjust and match up. So even with various expenses we've had this year, when you make that adjustment, it nets us out to 0, which is kind of interesting. But everything moving forward through the rest of the year is going to impact this fund, and you're going to see that percentage increase on a monthly basis. Revenues are on trend. You can see we're at 47.29%. Last year, this time, we were at 47.9%. Operating fund revenues, same story, 47.3 versus 48. And then operating fund expenditures, 43.9 versus 42.78. Interest rates, I sound like a broken record, continue to drop. However, we are at 52.4% of budget for total interest for the year. Are there any questions I can answer for anybody? All right, thank you.
So I would just a real quick like to add, just because you will see this every year, because our summer projects extend over multiple months, right? They start in June, some start in May. Imagine if I wrote you a check in May, but you don't cash it to August. We've got to take that August check that cashed and put it all the way back to the month of June, right? All the way back to the previous fiscal year. That's essentially what happened in the Capital Projects Fund. We had to take those $8 million of checks that were cashed and move them back to the previous fiscal year. That's that accrual method that we follow. So Jeff did a really good job explaining it, and kudos to Jeff and team for getting the audit done. It's a beast of an effort. We're the 6th largest district in the state, so kudos to you guys for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to 4.4, change order approval. Mr. Mickle.
Yeah, this might not be exciting as copy paper bids, but we're talking HVAC here. Back in September, when the Board of Education, you approved the addition, the 16,200 square foot addition, along with interior remodels for HVAC and ceilings and other projects inside Parkview. We did an alternate bid for our BAS, our building automation systems for our HVAC controls. I know Dr. Smith talked about this at the event the other night to let a lot of community members know that we have 3 separate systems in our district, JCI, Train, and Andover. And what makes it fun is some of our buildings have all 3. And so it can be cumbersome, it can be not productive, and it can just be detrimental at times. So what our goal is to look at getting one system throughout the whole district, and that's why we went with an alternate bid so we could look at different open protocol products. What I mean open protocol is it's not proprietary to one company. So even though we are looking at Train, it's an open protocol, we can have anybody work on that. So we're not locked in, and we can, if we don't like the service, we don't like the price, we can always look for somebody else to help us support it. So we did an alternate, we had 10 companies bid on it, and we looked at a Tritium product and a Train product. They ranged from $460,000 to $719,000. In accordance with the scope of this project, we went with the lowest overall responsible bidder, and that was Commercial Mechanical. Through the Train, we decided to go with Train because that's what we want to do district-wide, open protocol. That was for $465,000 on top of their base bid of $4,299,000, making that total of $4,764,000. The alternate for the change order is $465,000. That was already budgeted into the project and the original cost. That's why it's a change order and not a new thing. So we are recommending tonight to approve that $465,000 on top of, into the total $16,011,015 total cost of the project at Parkview. Any questions?
Have we gotten bids for just for funsies to see how much it would cost to do the whole district? and get
Not
it
for
all
the
in one
whole
system?
district. We've looked at a couple individual buildings, just kind of, we're starting that process. We're in the middle of that process. We're looking at that as looking at long range, short-term long range, bringing the district onto that whole thing. That's part of the master facility plan kind of process of getting that all together.
I'll add to that. If you take a look at this is $500,000 roughly project, right? So if you do that by each elementary, that's $9 million to start. Middle school is probably closer to $1 million, and the high school is probably closer to $2 million. So by there, once you add those numbers up, you're probably getting in that $15 to $20 million range to switch out all of our BAS systems to this Train model.
Wow, okay. All right, any other questions on that topic? Mr. Mickle has the second one, or the next one, HVAC controls upgrade contract.
We'll stick with the HVAC here, and this one is for Train. This is for 13 of our buildings. They're labeled here at the bottom. All these buildings have Train in them with Tracer SC. What we're looking at doing is upgrading to Tracer SC Plus. It's just the next generation that gives us more control of our scheduling, more for energy efficiency, and then also easier use of the equipment for our staff. So looking at an upgrade at each one of those buildings where there's a total cost of $150,471. We're also looking at a controller upgrade at Big Timber for the UC 600 system. This is the Train system we probably would eventually be going to district-wide. That's the newer generation. Obviously, our building's only 3 years old there. So this is just an upgrade, kind of that time of the, 3 years in to get graphics and the front end redone. That total is for $5,993. And then a control support service agreement. This is also going to help us with, instead of having these large sums in the future, it's more of an annual upgrade for the smaller things so it doesn't get so we're so far behind. And then also it gives us support on training. We've already got a couple classes lined up, ready to go for our guys. We have some new head custodians. We have some new maintenance guys. We really want to get cross-training on a lot of our BAS systems to help us, especially when we have the cold days like we've had this past couple years where we have to go in and check buildings and do building walks. It makes it a lot easier for that if our full team is staffed, doesn't put so much pressure on our HVAC team out of buildings and grounds. That one is for a total of $66,598. That's also for the 13 buildings that's on there. The administration is recommending approval of all 3 service agreements for a total of $223,062, and that would come out of Fund 20.
I'll just add that just kind of a picture of what a BAS system is, right? So that allows us to control temperature and other features of our HVAC equipment. So as Dr. Smith and John have done a good job, imagine in your own house if you had a nice Google Nest and you had an old thermometer that was kind of a dial one, and then you had the old one, which is that little mercury trigger, right? Where you went up and down and you watch the mercury kind of wobble back and forth. We have that. That's what we have. We have those 3 different systems in our buildings, and we're trying to get to that nice Google Nest piece, right? We want to get there, and that's what these upgrades that John is talking about will eventually get us to.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So all these upgrades that we're doing right now, when we do decide to get to that top level system for the HVAC, would these schools be ready for that then? Or do we have to
They'll
redo?
be a lot closer than the other ones. They won't be as
We won't have
expensive
to-
to
we wouldn't
do.
have to redo anything.
We would already have the controls in there, yes. Now, like I said, some of our buildings have all 3. So like at Dundee Crown, the main hub is run by Trane, but then like the music wing in the auditorium is JCI, and then the old section, like back by where the home ec is, that's run by Andover. So there'd be some upgrades here and there, but for the most part, yeah, the 13 buildings, they'd be a lot farther along. The cost would definitely be reduced.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that we don't have to
Yeah,
like.
do it
redo-
twice.
go-
Correct.
Do it at double time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, if no other questions? All right, thank
right.
you. And your last HVAC, HVAC filters bid.
Yeah, this helps our systems run, keeps our classrooms healthy, and this is a vital part, especially part of our preventive maintenance and making our equipment last longer. Last year, in February 18th, the board approved a 1-year contract with the possibility of 2 1-year extensions for our HVAC filters. Throughout the year, both Midwest and Filter Services they did a great job. They had everything here on time. Our guys had the equipment or the filters to put in, didn't have any issues. They both agreed to a no price increase. So we're looking at we're looking at awarding Midwest Air Filters out of Grand Rapids with an estimated total of $69,545 for purchasing pleated air filters, and then Filter Services out of Des Plaines, Illinois for an estimated total of $3,045 for purchase roll filters. That would all come out of Fund 20.
All right, 4.7 roofing projects bid.
Yeah, as part of our extensive roofing replacement and repair plan, that part of our capital maintenance work that we do. This year was identified by our IRSC, which is our consultant. They come out and they monitor our roofs. They do deep scans at night to see if we have any water penetration, to see if there's any damage. We've had the cops called on them a couple times because people didn't realize they were there, but they're used to that, I guess. But so they've done a great job this year. They've identified 3 of our buildings. This is our kind of our quadruplets. We have Eastview, and then we did that roof last year. We're looking at doing Liberty, Algonquin Lakes, and Lincoln Prairie for replacement this year. We had 19 bids received for trade package 072A, which was for Liberty, and then also 19 for 072B, that's Algonquin Lakes and Lincoln Prairie, with prices ranging from $578,000 to $1,291,600. This work will take place starting as soon as the teachers leave, I think, on May 22nd. That's what we're gunning for. And then we are recommending that the board approve the contract for the following roofs. Package 2A is Liberty. Recommend the base bid of $698,867 be awarded to WeatherGuard Roofing Incorporated. And then the bid package 072B for Algonquin Lakes and Lincoln Prairie. Recommend that contract in the amount, the base bid proposal of $902,453 be awarded to Bennett Brousseau Roofing Incorporated. Total financial impact of $1,601,320, which would come out of our Fund 60 for our capital maintenance projects.
All right, 4.8, exterior marquee sign project.
Yeah, so across the district, we've actually replaced, I think this will be our 10th, 10 other school districts, other school buildings in the district. We've replaced the old, I know you've seen it sometimes, they get spelled wrong. And, it's always fun to see that. But so we're replacing the older style, the digital marquees. Since this is a technology form and we wanted to be consistent throughout the district, we do not have to bid this. So we've standardized on a single vendor, Express Signs. It's worked with us to create, and actually Nicole and Diane have worked really extensively on this to create a look for the whole district. It's the same, it has the school colors, but it's the same font, the same when you drive by on the top, and then the digital board underneath is what it is for. So Liberty was looking, their system was starting to fall apart. The one they have, we've been ordering parts of them for years and kind of patching it. So we're looking at the corner of Miller and Huntley Road for Liberty, looking at replacing that old school manual sign with a digital sign for the school. We're looking at a grand total of $36,773. The PTO is donating $10,000 towards this, and the remaining $26,773 will be coming from the Liberty building budget.
Okay, kudos to that PTO.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great, yeah.
Okay, if no other questions, we're moving on to 4.9, intercom and clock replacement.
Yeah, kind of like our signs, it's a technology kind of safety feature that we do not have to bid this, but we've kind of identified one provider to give us the pricing, and then also the service and the installation, and that is Applied Control Group. They've done the other 11 buildings in the district. We have 17 more to go that have this new Atlas IED digital clock and intercom system. At Carpenter's Middle School, that was identified as the next building to be replaced as it's original to the 1954 building. The guts have been replaced over time, but the original equipment is all still the same. So we're going to be doing some vintage sales on this. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. So we're looking at getting this done. The other reason why we look at doing this through one vendor is we can pre-plan this to where they can do work over. So last year we did work over winter break and then also spring break. This year we'll be doing it over spring break to really make the process a lot faster, to give them time to train our staff at the end before school starts. Our first year we did this, we kind of were new to it, and we were training like the day before school started, and it was just kind of a hassle for the staff, and it really wasn't fair to them. So we've kind of worked with them between our partners with Dewberry and with LAMP and the installers. We worked really hard to kind of come up with a different plan to where this really works to our benefit. And last year we were able to do 3 schools, and I think the training was in late June. So we really were able to get a jump on it. So this summer, we would like to do Carpentersville Middle School, recommending accepting the proposal from Applied Communications Group in the amount of $959,415 to replace the existing intercom and clock systems. And that would come out of our Capital Improvement Fund 60.
We'd also consider this as safety, right? So under that safety conversation that we've been having, that by upgrading these systems, it allows for greater capability within the building for announcements and for time clock management and so forth. So as you can see in this plan, we do have a 6-year plan to eventually upgrade all of our buildings to the new Atlas IED. That's the goal. We'll start with those that are the buildings that are older and have a little more patchwork to them. So John has identified those, and we've got a plan in place to get over the next 6 years with the work with Dewberry to help us get those into the schools. That's the plan. Of course, we know that plans can modify and change as we progress, but we would like to have in the next 6 years all schools updated to this new system.
You're installing this over spring break, you say?
No, so
Okay.
let me read, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
please.
so over, like last year, we did over winter break and spring break where they came in and they call them home runs, where they're doing all the wiring for the new system. So that as soon as school got out, they're tearing everything out, and then they're just, instead of having to go back and do all the wiring, they're doing just the installs and then connecting them.
This
Sorry, but I
basically
didn't- I
requires
apologize.
an empty building, right?
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of ceiling tile that's got to get moved and a lot of.
All right, no other questions about that. We'll move on to 4.10, bus bid. Deborah Mason.
Good afternoon. D300 maintains an active fleet of 7 activity buses, 5 that the district owns, 2 that are leased. The activity buses play a vital role in supporting our athletic programs, some of our other programs, robotics and so forth, when they have competitions, rather than using a school bus. A teacher or coach will be trained to safely operate the activity bus, therefore saving the district money and not having to pay Durham for a field trip bus. Last year, we were able to replace 2 of our own buses, 2 of our 2009 buses. We purchased 2 2019 activity buses. We also turned in our lease buses and upgraded to 2 2025 activity buses that are at our high schools. This year, our focus is on replacing the remaining 3 buses that the district owns. 2 of those buses are 2009s, 1 is a 2012. They have exceeded their useful life, and at this point, to meet district standards of safety, reliability, they're due to be replaced. On January 2nd, we released bids to purchase the 3 activity buses and received 5 responses. Bids were opened on January 22nd. The net pricing ranged from $310,968 to $380,967. These amounts reflect the cost of the new activity buses minus the trade-in value of the used activity buses that the companies provided us. The administration recommends awarding the bid to Southern Bus Mobility of Breeze, Illinois, in the amount of $310,968. This would be funded through the Transportation Fund 40 in fiscal year 2027.
What year would the buses be?
The buses are brand new. They are 2026.
Okay, thank you. Deborah, any other, more questions about the buses? All right, we'll move on to transportation contract extension.
All right, good afternoon again. The district is in its final year of the current contract with Durham and its 19th year in partnering with Durham. The current 3-year contract began with the 2023-2024 school year and has the option for 2 one-year extensions. Durham has continued to meet the district's growing and changing needs. They've strengthened their recruiting efforts and maintained excellent staffing levels. They have proven themselves to be great partners who are committed to the district, students, and community. And just as a side note, from the start of the school year to right now, we have added 8 school bus routes, and they have been able to maintain the number of buses that we need to support our students, and without taking away from our spare ratio of buses. So they've continued to add buses and continued to hire new drivers and aides to fill those positions and our increased routes that we've had to add to our route counts. Let's see, based on the terms of the contract, there will be a 3.85% increase in rates, which are tied to the Chicagoland CPI. The administration recommends the approval of the 1-year extension for the 2026-2027 school year. The estimated total transportation cost for the 2026-2027 school year is $22.8 million, with an estimated state claim return of 15.2 million, leaving the district with an estimated expense of 7.6 million. And this would be paid out of the Transportation Fund 40.
So this is a good time to bring up the conversation that we've been having, which is those mandated categoricals. I know you guys that went to Triple I heard a lot probably about mandated categoricals. Transportation is one of those mandated categoricals. This is an area where the state is really pushing this year. All of our alliances are pushing hard on the state to fund those mandated categoricals. We're currently about 60%, we're about 65 cents on the dollar, right? Which is why you see that here, which we're spending 22.8. In reality, in the full world, we should be getting basically all of that back. But because the state isn't funding transportation, we're only getting about 60 to 65 cents on the dollar back. So the state is doing a big push. Well, I shouldn't say the state. All of our alliances are doing a big push to tell the state, hey, we need these funded. Because you can see that's a $7 million gap for us that we've now got to make up. And that's happening to districts across the entire state. So mandated categoricals are a big push. You're hearing a lot about them in the news now too, as legislators are starting to say, hey, we've got to figure out something for schools. Because this is a big deal when we're having to put 7.6 million local dollars into a contract where we should be getting almost a dollar for dollar back.
I mean, how do they justify that? Or they don't?
They
'cause
don't.
they're the state.
They don't.
So, nice. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. All right. If no other questions about the transportation contract, we'll move on to 4.12, student fees and meal rates.
Turn my mic on. All right. Okay, I did put a presentation together on this one just because it is a recommendation to reinstate. So I wanted to at least bring it to you guys for your consideration to reinstate our instructional and technology fees. All right, so good evening, board members, Dr. Smith, fellow administrators, and members of the public. Tonight, I'll be presenting my recommendation regarding the reinstatement of instructional technology fees for the 26-27 school year. During the presentation, I will cover why school fees are allowable. I'll talk about our food service price increase recommendations, our school fee recommendation. We'll talk about some comparables, comparing us to local school districts, and then we'll have a chance for you guys to ask some questions. Board policy requires the district to bring forward a recommendation regarding student fees. And I do want to begin by acknowledging that this is not a decision that I take lightly. While many surrounding districts continued charging instructional fees during COVID, District 300 made a deliberate choice to waive these fees for 5 consecutive years in order to reduce financial strain on families during an especially difficult and uncertain time. Other fees such as athletics, driver's ed, physical, or PE uniforms remained in place, but we worked intentionally to minimize barriers whenever possible. I also want to be very transparent that recommending the reinstatement of fees is not an easy conversation. I understand that any additional costs to families matter, and I am sensitive to the real financial pressures many households continue to face. But at the same time, this is a necessary discussion as the district prepares for increasing uncertainty in revenues while experiencing ongoing growth in expenditures required to support students and maintain our programs. With the conclusion of ESSER funding in September of '24, continued uncertainty in federal funding, a lower consumer price index, which directly limits our annual tax revenue, and a reduction in state revenue associated with moving to Tier 2, we are definitely facing financial conditions that are significantly different than in prior years. As a result, the reinstatement of student registration fees is being recommended as a way to help offset operational and instructional costs that are no longer fully supported through federal, state, and local funding sources, while still maintaining the level of service and support our community expects for our students. Here we see the recommended fees for the 26-27 school year. There are 9 changes compared to the last instructional fees that were charged in school year 2021. These changes are highlighted in yellow and include 7 fee decreases and 2 fee increases. In addition, there are 2 fee updates highlighted in blue and 3 meal price changes highlighted in green. Now that we've reviewed the overall recommendations, I will walk you through the proposed fees and food service changes in more detail, beginning with the recommendation to increase the cost of breakfast and lunch meals. But before I discuss the recommended changes for fees and food service, I want to take this opportunity to remind families that the district's fee waiver process remains available for eligible students. Student eligibility for a fee waiver is determined either through direct certification or through completion of the household eligibility application. Direct certification is an automatic process in which the district receives eligibility information directly from the state on a monthly basis, and families do not need to complete an application. When a student is matched through direct certification, the district will automatically waive applicable fees. And if the match occurs after the start of the school year, any waivable fees that were already paid will be prorated and refunded. Direct certification applies to households that participate in the assistance program, such as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or the Temporary Assistant for Needy Families, and in some cases, Medicaid, provided income eligibility requirements are met. If one child in the household qualifies through one of these programs, then all children in that household are categorically eligible for free meals and associated fee waivers. Families who are directly certified are not required to complete the household eligibility application. Families may also qualify for a fee waiver by completing the household eligibility application, which is available on the district's website and can be submitted at any time during the school year. The application requires accurate reporting of household members and income information and must be signed. Once an application is submitted, we review it within 10 days, which is required by the law, and the district's food service administrator using income guidelines established annually by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. If a family qualifies to this process, the district will automatically waive the fees and will refund any prorate from a proration perspective. It is important to note that if you are going to complete this form, you have to do it annually, as a new version is released each year after July 1. If the board approves the reinstatement of fees, I anticipate an increase in the number of household applications we receive. Over the past 5 years, while fees were waived, we saw a decline in the completion of these applications, particularly at the elementary level. This trend was consistent with many districts experienced during the COVID period. And per the Illinois report card, 2025 school report card, the district had 50.9% of our students eligible to receive free or reduced priced meals. Here we see our current meal and milk prices, along with the increases that have occurred over the past 8 years. As you can see, both breakfast and lunch prices have increased by less than 5 cents per year during that entire period, while milk has increased less than 3 cents per year over the same time frame. I think it is important to consider this in the broader context of our own food costs that we experience, as grocery prices are now roughly 23% higher than they were 5 years ago. It is also important to note that the USDA new nutritional guidelines that were just issued call for an increase in whole fat dairy products in schools. School meal programs are expected to be self-sustaining, meaning they are designed to cover their operating costs through a combination of federal reimbursements and program sales. When meal programs operate at a loss without additional funding, those losses ultimately come out of the district's education budget, which reduces our resources for available things like textbooks, technology, and other supports. To prevent this, the National School Lunch Program provides a tool called the Paid Lunch Equity, or PLE. The purpose of the PLE is to ensure fairness in how meal prices are set, so the federal reimbursement for free and reduced price meals are not used to subsidize pay meals. The tool helps districts determine whether they need to increase meal prices or contribute non-federal funds to make up the difference. In simple terms, this PLE tool establishes a target price per meal that districts are expected to charge in order to remain compliant and financially balanced. Any amount charged below the target is effectively being subsidized by local funds. So you can see here the PLE calculator tells us we should be charging $4. Because our meal prices have not increased in a meaningful way over the past 8 years, the district has been significantly subsidizing the food service program using our local resources. As a result, my recommendation is to increase breakfast prices by 20 cents and lunch prices by 25 cents per meal. While this represents a larger than normal adjustment, it is intended to help close the gap between what we currently charge and what the PLE tool indicates we should be charging in order to keep the program financially sustainable, allowing us to continue investing in new equipment, upgrading our kitchens, and covering the annual increases associated with our Organic Life contract. And as I mentioned before, it's worthy of noting, The USDA just updated its dietary guidelines to include an increase not only in whole fat dairy products, but in protein. So we do expect that both of these new requirements will increase the costs of doing business in food service. In May of last year, the board approved waiving instructional fees for all students for the current school year and also approved reinstating fees for the 26th summer school session, which were previously waived for 5 years since 2021 summer. Waiving instructional technology fees marked the 5th consecutive year the administration recommended not charging for families. It is important to note, however, that there were still board-approved fees that families are responsible for if they did not qualify for a fee waiver, including things like athletics, driver's ed, parking permits, and PE uniforms. It's also worth noting that the list does not encompass all fees associated with school, as there are additional costs tied to certain clubs, activities, and arts programs that are set outside the standard instructional fee structure. For the 26-27 school year, I am recommending the reinstatement of instructional and technology fees for students. These recommendations are based on a calculated method, not simply selecting arbitrary numbers, and I'll explain that process in more details in upcoming slides. What you see here reflects the recommended changes compared to the last time we charged fees, which was the 2020-2021 school year. To remove a financial barrier for families of our youngest learners and to support early access to education, I am recommending that both pre-K and kindergarten be tuition-free. Historically, the district charged $90 for students to attend our pre-K program and $140 for half-day and $170 for full-day kindergarten programs. For the 26-27 school year and in alignment with strategic effort led by Dr. Smith, I am recommending that both programs be tuition-free across the entire district. As a reminder, kindergarten is not required in the state of Illinois, so by removing instructional and technology fees, I hope to encourage a greater enrollment and ensure that families are not deterred from enrolling their children due to financial barriers. For students in grades 1 through 5, the historical fee was $170 per student. I am recommending a new fee of $95 per student, which represents a decrease of $75. For students in grades 6 through 8 who typically have access to additional opportunities such as clubs, activities, athletics, expanded fine arts, programming, exploratory courses that require more instructional materials and supplies, the historic fee was $190 per student. I am recommending $115 per student, which is also a decrease of $75. For students in grade 9 through 12 who experience even broader academic opportunities, including CTE courses, honors and advanced placement courses, and other specialized programming that require additional materials and resources, the historical fee was $220 per student. I am recommending a new fee of $140 per student, which represents an $80 decrease. Beginning in the 26-27 school year, the district will no longer require students to purchase physical education shorts directly from the district. Instead, students will be permitted to wear appropriate bottoms, which will be outlined in the student handbook. We will work on updating the language in the student handbook if the board approves the reinstatement of fees. This change represents a $12 savings per student for families. At the middle school level, athletic fees will now be capped for both students and families. Middle school differs from high school in that it offers 4 athletic seasons as opposed to 3, 1 in the fall, 2 in the winter, and 1 in the spring. Under this recommendation, individual students will be capped at 3 seasons, and families will be capped at 6 total payments. This is a change from past practice where no cap existed, and students participating in all 4 seasons would pay the athletic fee for all 4 for a total of $300. Under the new structure, that same student will now be capped at $225. Finally, the cost of maintaining our school parking lots has increased significantly over the past 5 years, with industry inflation averaging approximately 8.4% annually for things such as asphalt, labor, and specialized equipment. During that same time period, the district has increased parking fees by only $10. When setting parking fees, my goal is to recover at least 50% of maintenance costs, so to better align with the realities. I am recommending increasing the half-year parking fee by $5 to $75 and the full-year parking fee by $10 to $135. Lastly, I want to emphasize that the fees shown in the green boxes on the table are eligible to be waived for families who qualify for a fee waiver, ensuring the financial hardship does not prevent students from participating in their educational programs. As I mentioned earlier, I do not take the recommendation of fees lightly. In my effort to determine a fair and reasonable instructional and technology fee, I look at the evidence-based funding model for guidance. With the EBF model, there are 10 per student funding components that are calculated. For the purpose of determining instructional technology fees, I focus specifically on the instructional materials and the computer technology equipment allotments. I do want to note that while the EBF formula is evidence-based and grounded in best practices, it is not a perfect fit for every unique aspect of a district. Because of this, the model serves as a guide rather than a strict rule. It provides districts with recommended per student allotments while still allowing flexibility in how those funds are allocated and used to meet best local needs. When comparing the per student allocations provided through EBF to what the district has historically spent on instructional materials and technology equipment, we see a gap. We see a gap between what is allocated from EBF and what the district has actually funded. This gap is what I am attempting to partially address when calculating instructional and technology fees. I want to be clear that I am not trying to fully close that gap through these fees alone, but rather offset a portion of it in a reasonable and measured way. Looking ahead to FY27 revenue, I am cautiously optimistic the district will receive a modest increase in EBF. For context, our FY26 increase was approximately 1.5, whereas in prior years, we were more accustomed to seeing that 5 to 6 million. So basically a $4 million loss just in EBF funding. We also know that our minimum tax revenue increase will be based on the levy that was set in December. With consumer price index increase at 2.9%, that is expected to generate approximately $6.9 million in additional revenue. I am also anticipating the federal funding will remain relatively flat for the next fiscal year. When combining these assumptions, my educated estimate is that new revenue from these three sources in FY27 will be approximately $11 million. On the expense side, we know the average salary increase based on our collective bargaining agreements is approximately 5% for FY27. Using the projected CPI of 2.7% for the next tax year, that was the December CPI that just came out, my analysis shows an estimated $12.5 million increase in costs related to salaries and discretionary spending. It's important to note that these revenues and expense figures are based on our best current projections. They represent an educated analysis during the information available today and not our yet final. So there's still significant work to be done with the FY27 budget. Based on these projections and after factoring in our current fee waiver percentage, which I discussed earlier, I anticipate that instructional and technology fees would generate a little more than $1 million in revenue. This would help fill the projected gap between new revenues and increased expenses and support the district in maintaining instructional quality, technology resources without placing the full burden on the operating budget. Here we see our school year 26-27 fees compared to neighboring districts' 25-26 fees. Most districts are currently in the process of reviewing fees for the upcoming school year, so their 26-27 fees are not yet available. With that said, you can see our instructional and technology fee is lower than most of our neighboring districts, which indicates that even with the recommended reinstatement, our fees remain relatively modest and competitive with the region. To summarize, I'm recommending the board reinstate instructional technology fees for the 26-27 school year. These recommendations are grounded in careful, evidence-based analysis of district funding, expenditures, and regional comparisons, and are intended to strike a balance between fiscal responsibility and minimizing the financial impact on families. Even with these changes, our fees remain lower than those of neighboring districts while continuing to support instructional programs and resources our students rely on. Moving forward, I will review these fees every 3 years using the same methodology to ensure they remain fair, reasonable, and aligned with the district's financial realities and student needs. Thank you for your attention and consideration of my recommendation. I will take any questions at this time.
Okay, nobody has any questions?
Could we just,
yeah.
Frank, would you mind putting the surrounding school districts comparison up. I didn't get to see all of that.
Certainly.
We had done this back and made the decision in 20 or 21 to waive. We were behind at that point. I can't remember what the gap was, but it was significant. So we continue to be significant almost in every age category, don't we?
That's correct, yes. Yep.
Okay, so that's consistent.
Yes, sir.
For many years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Redistribution of taxes, I'm sorry. How much will you lose each year? And I'm sure maybe you don't have it on hand, but for TIFs that we have in this district?
Yeah, you're right. I do not have that number on hand, but I'll get it for you and update
I know
you.
it's in the millions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, I just want to say that, I mean, clearly this isn't a very palatable topic for anybody. Frank even acknowledged that. But I know when he ran through it with me the other day, and hopefully today again, I mean, it hits really well in that he and his team have taken a lot of care to make sure this isn't an immense impact on our families out there. So, I mean, that makes me feel better about it, and hopefully it does everyone else. So I want to thank you for that. I'm also glad to see that we're behind, or not behind, I don't know how to say it. We're lower than our surrounding neighbors, so that's good. But nobody has any additional questions? Okay, all right. Well, with that, we'll move on to Operation Committee items for discussion. 5.1, construction update.
All right, I'm back for one more. Talk about Parkview a little bit. We're in, the weather obviously has slowed us down a little bit. So we're very excited about the warm weather that's projected here, and LAMP is getting their guys ready to really make a push here as the weather gets better. In the bid releases, bid 1 and 2 have been already, well, the 1 came tonight, bid 2, but bid 1 has already been approved by the board. And then you will be seeing some action in the next couple months with bid release 3, 4, and 5 coming to the board. And that's all of our asphalt work with the tennis courts at Jacobs, the retention wall at Jacobs, the Westfield parking lots, and then also some teacher lounges, some tracks with HMS Westfield, and then some transportation building remodeling or refreshing, and also some flooring at some of our schools. And then on top of that, we have our Dundee Crown 2026 work. We're still in the design phase. And then we also are expecting some bids to come in for that work to come out soon. I will say it seems like it's calm right now, but our partners Dewberry Leggett and LAMP and also our team are working feverishly. They've been visiting the schools, and we've been working with each one of the schools and with Dr. Smith on designs for some of these, especially like the Cubbies at Lakewood and the couple teachers lounges that we have and the tennis courts and all those projects. Really a lot of work is going in there behind the scenes by our partners, and we're really excited about that. So.
It's funny, John. You're right. You can feel it when it shifts to getting ready for summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So.
Dr. Smith and several of us were just at Lakewood too, and oh my gosh, are they excited about the Cubbies?
Yeah, yeah.
It's very cool.
It's going to be, it's going to make it look more like an elementary school than, with the lockers and everything. I'm really excited about that.
All right, no questions?
I do. For the Jacobs retaining wall,
Yeah.
I just refresh my memory. Are we redesigning that a little bit too?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, good.
There will be steps down the middle this time.
Just there for the science fair, and I was like,
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
You think you're
and
getting a great
that would
spot
be a
when you
great
park right in the
idea.
middle, and then
And
you
then,
gotta
yeah,
go,
you're like,
I
nope.
gotta go a half a mile that way or a quarter mile that way.
Yeah.
So we
Okay,
looked at that. Yes,
excellent.
yes, correct.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll add to that too. We've also asked our partners to, because I believe it might have been in this committee that we got the information about handicap access to the visitor side of the Jacobs Field. And so our partners are also helping to get us some quotes on how do we make that easier than our current process for those in a wheelchair or with a walker. Because right now it is a pretty steep decline, so.
It could be close to the downhill slope for like the Olympics.
There you go.
For some people, so yeah.
Good one. So we are, so we're looking at getting a quote for that too.
Okay, No other questions on that. We'll move on to 5.2, CFO update.
Okay, I'll make this short. So John mentioned Parkview. I just wanted to show here, this is a current picture taken, I believe, today, right? Yeah, right. So this is a drone view of today's work. You could start to truly see the classrooms are starting to form over here on the right-hand side. I blow this up a little bit more. I know my eyes are going too. So you can see the classrooms on the right-hand side are starting to come up. This little bump out right here, that's the new media center. Yep, okay, John's shaking his head. Thank you, John. And then we'll have more classrooms along. You can see the outline on the wall here. More classrooms will start to show up along this area here. And then over here next to where the gym is, John, if you want to.
That's a 300 square foot storage space. Right now, the gym teacher has to climb up the attic ladder to put his stuff up in there. So thought that was the least we could do for that building there on that side of it. Also in the courtyard, you can see some of the they look like little shapes. Those are the planter boxes for the lot where we're going to have our live, plants and
The real green plants.
real green plants. That's
Beautiful.
right. That's right.
That's right. So work is coming along. Super excited about it. As John mentioned, the snow has melted,
Yes.
and LAMP is ready to start pushing to make sure that we are ready for the start of school at Parkview.
Again, the best part is the kids go up to the top. They don't actually go down the slide. They
Oh,
stand up
right
there
here,
to
you can see
watch
the
them working.
playground,
It
and they
is
go up to the top
amazing.
of this slides right here. Yeah. All right, and the last thing I have then for the CFO update, we've been talking about this for the last few months, a new dashboard that Jeff and his team are working with one of our strategic vendors, service associates, I mean. And this is just a report. This is an example of a report that'll eventually come out of it. This is what you're seeing is December data, but it does not include our audited information yet. Because again, we're still kind of working through making sure that this is ready. But these are some of the graphs that will start to show and be available to the public on our websites. So it'll show, you got here year-to-date revenues, year-to-date expenditures, and then you've got month-to-date and month-to-date. So super excited to get this up and going. Jeff and his team are working on making sure that the data is reporting to our service associates and to make sure that the data then matches what we have too. So we've got some work to do, but we're getting close, and hopefully cross the fingers to launch this in April. That's our goal, is to officially launch this in April. But I do think the graphics will be nice and the colors will be nice for folks. I think I did have on there to also talk about the community engagement, but Dr. Smith, we'll talk about that at the next board meeting too, right?
Yeah, but we can announce February 25th,
Okay.
6 to 8 p.m. We'll be at Dundee Crown for workshop number 2. Mr. Mickle. We'll be backing him up at that meeting. It'll be a great time.
I'll do my best to keep him on a timer.
It will be fun.
It gets so hard.
That's exactly what it is, yes.
Okay,
That,
all
I'm
good?
done.
Okay. All right, announcements. The next Board Operations Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 10th at 4:30 p.m. Does anybody else have any announcements at this time? Nope. All right, with that, we are adjourned.